Okie dokie, so we just finished the soiree. So since the soiree was already like a nighttime event, let's not do escapade yet. Growing wave family road trip. Let's do family. I want to do family. Oh, this is beautiful. This is one of the most picturesque locales we've been to yet. The sun warmed your skin from its place in the sky, and you closed your eyes, enjoying the mix of the heat with the pleasant breeze that drifted past you. You and Lee had spread out a blanket on top of one of the hills behind your house, and had been relaxing there for a while now. Lee had come over earlier in the day, and while a range of activities had been discussed, from staying home to heading down to the beach, a picnic on the hill had been the choice you both settled on. A small spread was laid out in front of you, some bottled water, soft drinks, as well as chips and sliced fruit. You sat up and reached for a snack, listening to Lee talk away about the musical she had gotten to see a few days ago. I'm a huge fan of musicals, not gonna lie. It was unbelievable! There was singing, dancing, and crazy stunts, and it was all done live in front of my face. Maybe one day we could go together. I gotta see more shows like that. I'd be all over for that. You smiled at Lee's enthusiasm, knowing how much she enjoyed singing and performing. As do I. And she was good at it too. You had gotten the chance to hear her sing a couple of tunes, and you knew she put a lot of effort into it. You also liked to sing, but you weren't very good. You also liked to sing and had talent of your own. You didn't like to sing, but you had been told you were good at it. You weren't good at singing, and that suited you fine. I wouldn't say that I'm amazing. I never claimed to be amazing at singing, but I at least would like to give... I have a little bit of self-esteem and a little bit of self-confidence to believe that I'm decent, or at least better than weren't very good. You didn't like to sing, but you'd been told you were good at. You weren't good at singing, that's fine. You also like to sing and had talent of your own. It was nice the two of you could share that interest. I wonder if maybe we could put on our own show. Think of how fun it'd be. We could perform for our parents and ask our friends and some other people to come and watch too. It'd totally work. Yeah, let's do it. I don't know about that. The idea gives you stage fright. I never really... Again, I'm a freak of nature because I never really had stage fright. I know a lot of people, for many, many, many people, their biggest fears are public speaking. And again, I'm a freak of nature. That was never I never had a problem with that. I actually enjoyed public speaking. Again, extrovert. Huge extrovert right here. So, and very proud of it. Yeah, let's do it. You had actually thought about doing something like that before, but never had the chance to. Lee clapped in excitement and bounced on the balls of her feet, beyond happy that you were on board with her idea. I'm gonna sing. Do you want to too, or maybe do something else? I'll sing too. I'll dance. I definitely sing better than I dance, like way better. I'll write the song. I'll do some kind of stunt that goes to the music. I'll pick the outfits. I'll do makeup. I'll make a backdrop. No. I'm singing too. Let's do a duet. Cool, we'll perform an incredible duet. That's what... See, Lee and I both... We're on the same wavelength, girl. Is there anything else that's coming to your head? One more thing. I'll dance. Don't really dance. I'll write the song. I have written songs, but mostly like parodies. I'm very good about writing lyrics, like not deep, good lyrics, but more like I can make things rhyme. I'm good at making things rhyme. Beyond that, and I'd like to think a lot of the songs that I do are parodies that are a little funny, you know, sort of like a Weird Al Yankovic kind of thing going on. But we'll see. I'll do some kind of stunt that goes to the music. I'll pick the outfits. I'll do the makeup. I'll make a backdrop or some kind of stage. I like how there's different things that you could pick, even if like singing is not your thing. But the only thing here that I would remotely be able to do, because I'm not into makeup, I mean, I like costumes and outfits, but that's not really like my forte. I wouldn't be in charge of it. I wouldn't like to put myself in charge of it. Backdrop or some kind of stage, I like to help out with that because I love doing tech in other shows that I've been in. But I mean, I wouldn't go out of my way to do tech. So I will say I'll write the song. Ooh, I hope it's something dramatic. No, it's probably going to be something like parodied, something really funny. No, how about fun? Fun is better. What about both? Lee's face lit up at the idea and she gave you a broad smile. Realistically, I would not have said both. Realistically, I would be like, it would be fun. I wouldn't say it. My lyrics are not dramatic. That sounds perfect. Is there anything else that's coming to your head? No, that's all. The two of you ran back to your house to grab the supplies you needed, dodging your mom's amused questions before heading back out to get the blanket, to back out to the blanket to get started. You made sure you had a notebook and pen down, in case some inspiration hit. Lee and you discussed the plans in detail, settling on a song first and then practicing out parts for the show. The afternoon passed quickly, the sun dropping lower and lower in the sky, and after having thoroughly worked out how the show was going to go, you decided to take a break. Oh, we should have invited Cove to watch us practice our show. He could tell us if it's bad before we put on the real thing. That's smart. You guessed that would have been okay. I'm glad he didn't see. You said nothing. That's smart. We should ask him to watch us later. Okay. It's too bad Derek isn't in the neighborhood today. I like him. I like him too. I kind of wish Derek was here too. Yeah, he's a good person. I really like him too. He's okay. He's kind of boring. I don't really like him. No, I really like him too. I knew you would. But speaking of boys we like, what's the relationship status between you and Cove? Is it good? Yeah. Yeah, it's good. I don't know. You blushed and said nothing. You shouldn't gossip. I think things are alright. Yeah, it's good. I'm so happy for you. But, really, are you gonna be telling him you have a crush on him anytime soon or what? I thought we already passed that. Didn't we? Didn't I already tell him that? I don't have a crush on Cove. I'll tell him soon. No way, I'm not telling him. I'm pretty sure he already knows. You weren't sure if you wanted to tell Cove or not. I'm just gonna say I'm pretty sure he already knows, because I'm pretty sure I already told him. Pretty sure isn't sure. You should declare it to him. You mumbled something incoherent and she gave you a pointed look. You know that he has a crush on you too. It's obvious for him. It's obvious for you. Why not just do it? You didn't say anything, wondering about the possibilities instead. I could have sworn I already told him. Did I not? I don't know. Maybe I didn't. The two of you talked a little more about Cove, amongst other topics, and you found that it was nice having someone to speak about these sorts of things. Finally, you both decided to pack everything up and head back home for the evening. Lee talked excitedly about the show as you did, and you thought back on what you had already accomplished for it. You could definitely do with a little more practice, but what you had so far was a solid foundation for the performance. Upon walking to the front, here's my sister, Miss Grumpy Pants. Upon walking through the front door, you were met by your moms and Elizabeth hovering around each other in the living room. Tension hung thick in the air as the three of them turned to you and Lee, frowning slightly. You had interrupted something, exactly what you weren't sure. Exactly what you weren't sure. I have a feeling Elizabeth got in trouble for something, or I don't know. Some sort of heated argument. Wow, who died? What's going on? You looked between them and said nothing. Hello. Knowing me, I would have just said, look between them and said nothing.
Oh.
Hi, Vaughn. Hello, Lee. Welcome back. The room fell quiet again, with no one quite knowing what to say. You felt incredibly awkward, but the silence didn't last long. You don't have to just stop just because these two are here. There's no reason to try keeping it a secret. Elizabeth was mad, with her arms folded defensively over her chest, but your mom's nodded in agreement with her.
Well...
Elizabeth was asking about her parents. Her biological ones. Oh! Did I know that Elizabeth was adopted? Were we both adopted? I actually don't know. That's a really interesting question. The world spun around you at the news. You couldn't understand. Why was this happening now? When you glanced at Lee, she shuffled her feet uncontrollably, as though she didn't know if she should be there or not anymore. You didn't know either. Your moms had always been open and honest about the fact that neither of them had given birth to you or your sister. Oh, I had no idea. Okay. Cool. I had no idea. But the details hadn't been fully explained before. It made sense that Elizabeth didn't know a lot about her biological parents and wanted to know more. You just hadn't ever thought you'd accidentally stumbled into it. Elizabeth looked at your parents expectantly. She wasn't going to let the unintentional interruption derail things. So, my son is biologically mine, but only half biologically mine. So the other half is obviously from the egg donor, because we went through a surrogate in order to have our children. And we really would love to have given my son the opportunity to eventually, not, I think legally he can't yet, but eventually once he's turns 18, a child may legally be given information about the egg donor, as long as the egg donor gives consent to. So many people who are egg donors or sperm donors opt to either make it completely anonymous or make it anonymous until, again, the child reaches age 18. And you might think, yeah, that would be really cool for people to do, but not everybody would be comfortable about that, especially if you are donating to a lot of different couples. And so if you think about it, you essentially have a lot of different biological children. How many of those children would you necessarily want, knocking on your door or reaching out to you 18 years or more down the line? Some people may be perfectly cool and fine with that, but a lot of people also wouldn't be cool with that and would rather just, they're doing this as, for whatever reason, either to help other families have kids or because it helps them financially or whatever. Certain people are cool with that, and certain people don't, just want to keep the ties and the attachment or relationship, away from them. So the unfortunate thing is, the clinic told us that the person who donated the eggs for our children wanted to remain anonymous, which makes a lot of sense, because from my understanding, she was very sought after, because she actually provided a lot of eggs with each cycle. So I can imagine she's helped many, God bless her, many couples have children. And so that's a lot of children to be contacting her later on the line if she allowed that. So totally get it. So I'm wondering, I'm guessing that in this situation, we can find out about the biological parent, but I don't think you're necessarily allowed to until we're 18, of which we're not 18 yet, unless they knew this person personally beforehand. That's the only way I think I could explain it. Obviously, it's probably different depending on states, or depending on where you live. So, I'm just talking about my own personal experience in the area that I'm in. We don't want to keep that information from either of you. It's your right to know your past, but we did want to wait until you asked us to hear it yourselves. And that's the other thing. If the surrogate did give permission to provide the child their information, then again, legally, that contact information does not get given to us. We do not see that information, at least not initially. Initially, it has to be given directly to the child, again, once they're 18 or above. And if the child wants to show us the contact information of the biological parent, that's up to them. That's perfectly up to them by that point. But initially, it cannot legally go to us, the parents, the parents who went through the surrogacy or the adoption or whatever. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Well, it's happening now, so... Your mom shared a nervous glance, and Ma took in a quick breath before speaking again. I adopted you from the Philippines when you were just a baby. Oh! Of course. That makes a lot of sense. Elizabeth is Filipino. And doesn't that mean Vaughn was Filipino? Oh wait, did I specify that I was from the Philippines? Did I specify that was where I was from? I don't remember. It's been a while. So if I didn't specify it, then it's kind of cool that by default, Elizabeth at least is from the Philippines. Elizabeth dropped her arms, her eyebrows shooting upwards in surprise. Wait, I wasn't born here?
No.
No, you weren't. You could clearly see that your sister was appalled by this information. You struggled even more with what to do or how to react. Again, I apologize I'm pausing a lot, but there's a lot of things that's happening here that is so relevant to what's happening in my life as well. Well, not necessarily in my life directly. So again, besides the fact that she was from the Philippines, I have a friend, actually it was my husband's friends who are a married couple. He worked with the wife at school because they're teachers together. But the husband and wife, they too were trying to adopt from the Philippines. And they found this agency, and this agency was working with them for 2 whole years. And it was not a cheap, no adoption agency is cheap. You have to put in a lot of money. Adoption's very expensive. Surrogacy is very expensive. But adoption too is very expensive. So 2 years, and they took all of this money, and after 2 years, the agency just disappeared off the face of the earth. It was pretty much a scam. They kind of gave them the runaround for 2 whole years, all telling them, "Oh, we found this, these kids for you. Let's set something up," and then something always fell through and didn't actually happen. It's like, "Oh, we're sorry, but somebody had already adopted those kids." And you would think for a while, and I'm pretty sure, for a while they probably did suspect something, but yeah, they just kind of strung them along for 2 years and then just disappeared. And they never caught them. They never found them. They were never able to get their money back. And they also weren't able, obviously, to get the time wasted, essentially, back. All that money and all that 2 years of time, when, as somebody like myself who was really, really desperate and wanted so deeply to start a family, I know what that's like. And just the idea that that much time and money, if I had lost that much time and money, I would have been really devastated. Now, I've also felt that kind of devastation in a way as well, because in order to have my son, we went through 5 different surrogates before we finally had our son, and among other things, among other hardships, which is in another separate video, and if you want to look at my daddy vlog where I talk all about it. So, but back to this family. I can't imagine how hard and difficult it was, not only to experience that horror, that tragic horror, but to also muster up the motivation to try again. After having that happen to you, it would be so easy to give up. It'd be so easy to just decide maybe it just wasn't meant to be. But no, they went and tried again. And I'm glad that they did, because we literally just spent time with them 2 weeks ago, which actually doesn't happen very often because they moved several years ago to Hawaii. So we don't really get to see them hardly at all, once in a blue moon. But they just so happened to be back just for a visit in the area, and we got to see them with their not 1, not 2, not even 3, but 4 adopted children, I believe ranging from the ages of 9 through 13. I think the twins are either 8 or 9. The 2 youngest are the twins are 8 or 9. The oldest is a girl, which I think she's 12 or 13. I think she's 12, actually. And then the little brother is in between. I think he's 10. I think he's 10, not quite 11. All siblings, all related to each other by blood. 4 of them. They went from no kids to 4 kids, which was really the plan. Their plan was to have at least 2 children, but they really wanted 3 or 4, which is amazing because most people who adopt, especially when they don't have any kids at all, usually only adopt 1, maybe 2. But they specifically wanted to adopt 4, which is so great because they were able to keep this family together. Because there's so many unfortunate cases where siblings are separated from each other. I mean, it's either that or they don't get adopted. It's either that or neither of them gets adopted until maybe much later, if at all. And it's harder for older kids to be adopted because most people want to have young babies or kids as young as possible because, you know, they want to be able to raise them as early as possible or have that parental experience from as early as possible. Totally get that. So yeah, this whole situation about Elizabeth being from the Philippines and me adopted just reminded me of this family that I was talking about. So I'm so glad it worked out for them because after, again, everything that they had been through, they of all people are deserving to have that family. Just like this family right here. Just like that. Am I gonna have to pass some tests even to be a citizen?
No.
No, you were adopted into the country. We took care of things. You're already a citizen. You have nothing to worry about. I followed all the laws when it came to bringing a child into the U.S. Nothing can be held against you. Elizabeth sighed, placated with the information, but still far from happy. Who were my parents? As people. Why did they put me up for adoption in the first place? Ma softly put her hands on over Elizabeth's shoulder, trying to provide some support before she gave her the answer. So are we blood relatives too? I have a feeling we're not, but I'm just curious. Are we blood relatives? Or were we adopted separately from separate families? Ma softly put her hands over Elizabeth's shoulder, trying to provide some support before she gave her the answer.
I am so sorry.
I'm so sorry, sweetie. Your parents were reported to have died. They didn't go into details on the specifics of how, but you were an orphan. Oh. I wish we had better news for you, Elizabeth. Elizabeth was torn between emotions. Her eyes filled with tears as she threw her hands in the air, settling on enraged. Great, so I can never meet them, even if I wanted to. Not that I could have anyway, since they lived in another part of the world when they were still alive. Yeah, I'm sorry, Elizabeth. That's unfortunate. We really would have wanted to have that for a son, but I at least totally understand why. Elizabeth turned her back on you and your moms and stormed off, sprinting up the stairs and to her room before anyone could stop her. I have to go to talk to her. Ma immediately started to follow her, but Mom gently held her by the arm and shook her head. We should give her a little space to process it all. That's probably the best thing. Your Ma's head hung low, but she stopped walking. With Elizabeth now gone, the two of them seemed to remember you and Lee were still standing awkwardly off to the side. I'm sorry you had to see all that. It's not how I expected it would have happened when the time came. But since it's the topic of the day, Vaughn, is there anything you'd like to ask? Why not? Since you're offering. You deserve to know after all. Lee patted your back and gave you a supportive look. I want to know. No, I don't want to hear right now. Not right now. You couldn't even answer. Sure, why not? I think if I was adopted, I'd be curious. I definitely would be curious. And if I found out my parents died, yeah, I would have been bummed out because I would have been at least wanted to talk to them and just meet them if they wanted to meet me. So yeah, I would have been curious. I'd like to know. Your parents both nodded in sync to your reply, ready to talk. I can leave if you want to have things be private. I want you to be here. No, I want you to be here. I can do that. Lee shifted a little closer to you in support, and you were glad to have her there with you. It made you feel a little stronger somehow. Yeah, and I kind of want Lee to, know too, you know? I'm an open book. I'm not a private person at all. So if this is something that I can share with my other friends, share about my family, for me, it's nobody's business, but I don't mind making it other people's business. I have zero problem making things like this anyone else's business, you know. You turned to face your parents again, preparing yourself for what they were about to tell you. Ma was the first to speak, her voice quivering with emotion. You were adopted as a baby, but 2 years after Elizabeth. We used a different organization that time, and you were adopted within the US. We're sorry to tell you, Vaughn, your parents had also passed away, and no other family member took you in, if there were any. Somebody from the Philippines. The only thing I would say is that I'm sure that this is what actually happened to Elizabeth, but people in the Philippines are notorious for having a huge family, lots of kids, lots of family. So it would have been virtually impossible for, if it was my family, if my parents were the one who died, it would have been virtually impossible that nobody would have been able to, no other relative would have taken me in, because I have like, on my mom's side, like 7 aunts and uncles. On my dad's side, 3.5, because the half I'll have to explain separately. 3.5 aunts and uncles on my dad's side, tons of other like cousins, and yeah, no way. So, but in this situation, I get this is a different character. That's why we wanted to wait until you asked. We didn't want to suddenly drop that in your lap. We wanted you to be prepared.
I'm sorry.
We're sorry, Vaughn. Lee gave you a reassuring squeeze on the arm to show she was there for you. Thank you for telling me. Okay, you said nothing. It's not your fault. You didn't kill them, right? Don't answer that. You started to cry. You were so angry. No, I'll just say thank you for telling me. I did want to know, and now I do. Because, I mean, these were still my parents. I have biological parents, but they're not who I would call my mom and dad. They would be, I would call my biological parents. Just like Kate, who is our surrogate, is not, Brody's mom. She's Brody's surrogate, or Brody's gestational carrier, or really Brody's aunt, which is what she's going to be. She's going to be Brody's aunt. Thank you for listening, Vaughn. If there's anything else you want to know, all you have to do is ask. We'll do our best to answer any questions you have.
Are you okay?
How are you feeling now? Are you going to be okay? Leah watched you closely, as though judging how exactly she should react to what was going on. I feel fine, but you didn't mean that. You started to cry. You held back the tears, but you weren't fine at all. Anger rose inside. You definitely weren't okay. You said nothing. Again, I guess I have to be in that situation at that age, but I don't know if I would necessarily cry. I'd probably feel sad that I found out that my biological parents were dead and that I couldn't meet them, but I don't think I would cry. And I wouldn't say I feel fine but didn't mean it, I guess. No, I'll say I feel fine. You spoke with a refreshed tone, as though you had a load off. Your mom smiled sadly, but you knew they believed you. No one seemed to have any words after that. You went up to your room. You need to stay here with your moms. You wanted to get out of the house. You wanted to see Elizabeth. You wanted to see... Oh! Yeah, I want to see Cove. After finding out about that, I would want to be with my boyfriend. Soon-to-be boyfriend, if I haven't said anything to him, apparently. You wanted to see Cove. More than anything, in that moment, you wanted to see Cove. No one could be there for you the way he could. I'm gonna go out, just for a little while. I'll be back before it's really late. Your mom's nodded understanding, trusting you to make the best call for yourself. Lee's footsteps echoed from behind, and you knew she was following you. Can you stay, Lee? I want to go by myself. You encouraged her. You said nothing. Can you come with me? You know I can. Yeah, the more the merrier. She gave you a small smile and walked with you to the door. I mean, Lee's my friend. There's no reason for me to tell her to shoo. Once outside, you strode across the street purposely, Cove's house set in your sights. After you raised a hand to knock on the door, it only took a few moments for Mr. Holden to answer it, giving you a broad smile. Hi, Vaughn. Looking for Cove, I bet. Yeah, that's right. Cliff turned and whistled down the hall, in the direction of Cove's room. Hey, sport, you have a guest. After calling his son, he turned back to you and dipped his head.
No worries.
He'll be here any second. As promised, it didn't take long before footsteps echoed down the hall and Cove's head of green hair appeared before you all. He looked past his dad to see you standing there and smiled, pleased at your visit. Hey, Vaughn,